All right, so we are here today with Greg Sestero, who you know from The Room, from The Disaster Artist, and now Best Friends, which opens in theaters on March 30th, correct?
March 30th and April 2nd.
March 30th and April 2nd.
Yeah, it'll be nationwide, and I think here it's going to be in Evansville.
Correct, yeah, the AMC over in Evansville.
Right near Owensboro.
Yeah, pretty close. So today I want to talk to you about the making of Best Friends. So without giving anything away, tell me a little bit about the plot, just kind of the elevator pitch, I guess.
So, Best Friends was inspired by true events.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tommy and I have had a 20-year friendship that now became a book, The Disaster Artist, and became a film.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so many just kind of interesting moments we've had together. Tommy being such a great character. You know, he can bring about, you know, comedy. And so I always felt like there was a great Hitchcock character in Tommy that just hasn't been done yet. Yeah. And I feel like ever since The Room, people have kind of tried to put him in a box of like this kind of caricature and, you know, pressing a button, have him yell, "You're tearing me apart." He's kind of become a bobblehead in a way. Or like, you know, you just like a circus animal in a way. And so I've always really believed that he's got something very interesting to offer and take him seriously, and no one's really done that. Mm-hmm. And I knew after The Disaster Artist that it intrigued me to try. You know, it intrigued me knowing him this long, knowing him better than anybody else. I feel like he trusts me. This was the time to try to make a serious film, something that I would be passionate about with him in an interesting role that's stripped away from The Room, no footballs, no spoons. Right. And really try to go out and make a film. So it's a you know, takes place in Los Angeles. It's these two, you know, very different people. I'm a drifter. He's a mortician. We're lonely. It's almost like this relationship in this film kind of resurrects our lives and our souls in a lot of ways. And we come together and we form this very strange underground business. And we start making money, and things start to go wrong. So I always try to pick films that have inspired me and out of that make your own film. And so I think with this one you could kind of see it as Nightcrawler meets A Simple Plan.
Oh wow, that's cool.
At least that's the goal.
No, I love Nightcrawler. I haven't seen the other one, but yeah, that's interesting. I know the true events you speak of. That's the road trip, right? You guys took.
Yeah, we took a road trip after we made The Room. That was bizarre, and something about that experience I tapped into and I went with it, and it was the foundation of a story that I had to build something around, and so that's
right. So it's greatly embellished compared to the actual road trip. Are there any like things that happen in real life that might show up in the movie?
Yeah, a lot of it's taken from real life. In fact, the whole setting of the business and everything that takes place is something that is based on true events as well. Excellent. So yeah, it was. I didn't want to make another film unless I really went for it, because I think one of the great things about The Room is how authentic it is.
Sure.
And you know, we can judge things and say they're bad or good, but I think something's going to stick around if it's authentic. And so that's the way I approached this project, and I took it seriously, and Tommy took it seriously, and we worked really hard to try to make something new to surprise, you know, our fans that have supported us for so many years.
Sure. Yeah. I know your first script was a sequel to Home Alone, which you wrote as a kid. Tell me about like the process. Like once you realized there was a good story there, like tell me about like taking that and making it into a script, and how long it took you to write it, and kind of the technical aspects.
For Home Alone.
Oh, right. Yeah. No,
that one unfortunately didn't work out. Childish scrawl, I think call it. You know what? That's the thing about Best Friends that to me was fascinating, because I had been trying for quite some time to write a TV show, because I really gotten into the new wave of TV shows, Breaking Bad, Fargo, True Detective, and I really love that idea of telling a story in 8 to 10 episodes. Mm-hmm. So I'd been working on that for quite a while, and I get about halfway and I couldn't figure it out. And that's really the tough thing when people talk about being creative. It's like, finish what you're trying to do, but you get to a point where you just don't know where it's going anymore, and you don't know if you believe in it, and you just think, what's the point of this getting made? Who's going to see this film?
Right.
Or this TV show? And so when I got the idea of writing a character for Tommy, for us to be in a new film together, I just sat down and started working around these idea of these true events that happen, and really kind of focusing in on characters, because I think that's what really makes a story work is the dynamic between the two characters. And because I know Tommy so well, because we've had such a bizarre friendship, there's so much to work with. And so I just sat down, and within 4 days, the whole story came together.
Oh, wow.
And I had been trying for months to complete something. And I think when you have something and you get to a point where you're telling the story and you're discovering it as it's coming. I think a lot of writers love to outline and really kind of a plan of where they're going. But with this story, I didn't know where it was going, and it was interesting to me to approach it that way. And when I got close to the end, or when I started to feel it, I knew that I really wanted to tell the story. Because when I got to the end, there's a feeling you get when you complete something, and it's usually a very gratifying feeling, and that's how I felt with this. But it came together in 4 days.
Wow!
And,
so
the story, the whole story, and so then you obviously you got to write the script, but I really wanted to get it on film. I really wanted to at least capture scenes from it, and so that's kind of how it came together. We shot a few scenes and put together this quick little idea of what this could be, and once we saw that it could work, then I got down to actually writing the whole script.
So you shot like a sample trailer sort of or something?
Just to see what it would feel like, because a lot of times something's in your head and it works, and then you put it on film and you're like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but no, it came together very quickly. Was that sample trailer done with the director you ultimately got for the movie? Or? No, it was just it was just a few people that I knew, and we shot some scenes, and we're like, okay, it helped me figure out what the aesthetic should be, and
gotcha.
It just kind of getting the ball rolling, and then I realized what really needed to be done to make it into a film. So it was a huge challenge to do, but again, it was really rewarding to make this film. Yeah.
So like once you had your idea down, you knew where the story was going. Like, what was your writing process like after that, as far as like the actual format of the script? Like that's one thing. I've tried myself to write a few scripts. I've had an idea before, one in particular, but I have a hard time wrapping my head around the format. So as somebody who's written a couple of scripts now, like, what would your advice be to somebody who wants to go from like writing short stories to scripts?
I would say this was my first script.
Oh, okay.
Really? I mean, Home Alone. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can count that. So this was my first script. I think just attacking it, just getting in there and writing it, and I noticed a lot of scenes that I wrote were way too long.
Yeah. Because
it was just a lot of conversations, a lot of stuff that you're trying to get across that you don't need, and you learn as you go. But I think if you don't get something written and don't get it done, you'll never learn. So I just went through and again, the discovery process, letting something breathe, letting your story kind of evolve and not being too stuck on things was helpful. Getting feedback from readers and being like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. I don't know if the character, because a lot of times the characters are developed in your mind.
Right.
But they're not developed on the page because you already know them, but the audience doesn't know them yet.
Sure.
And then it's finding the line of expanding them too much or explaining too much, and also not letting your audience figure out for themselves. So I would just go at it every day, start in the morning, and just write as much as I could, and backtrack and say, okay, this scene I don't need it. I can cut this. I can move this. And a lot of times you'll write the same scene a couple times. You don't really realize it until later, and then you can cut back and decide which scene is stronger. And so, I think watching movies, knowing what the story that you want to tell, knowing how it's going to open, and how to get across. You can get a whole scene across just with one establishing shot or one moment or an expression. So watching movies, listening to movie soundtracks is something that I love to do when I write. It inspires you to try to tell your story. So,
did you read a lot of scripts too? In that time?
Pick a couple great scripts of films that you love and see how they were able to write the script and then transition it to a film. Because really, the script a lot of times is just a blueprint for the film you're making. It's going to change, and so surround yourself with stuff that you love, that inspires you, that's well done, and try to merge with that.
Yeah, that's good. So once the script was completed, and actually before I get into that, like, one thing I wanted to ask you about that's sort of, it's not really related to Best Friends, like how did it feel to see like the book that you wrote on the big screen, like just as a writing question, I guess, like talk about the difference between writing The Disaster Artist, the book, and writing Best Friends, the script, and like then talk about how it felt to have The Disaster Artist on the big screen. Like I would imagine it's an amazing thing to see, you know, somebody playing yourself based on a book that you wrote.
You know, the goal with The Disaster Artist was for it to become its own film. So I approached it in a way that was the goal. You know, so it's like building these characters. It's not just about the making of a bad film.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting out knowing these two opposite people who became friends, and letting that story really be featured. You know, and again, studying books that became films. So, you know, the fact that it got turned into a film was incredible. I mean, that's kind of like the goal, the dream that you shoot for.
Right.
So many great books get optioned, get talked about, being turned into films, and it never happens.
Yeah.
So, but it gave me a great confidence and understanding then to approach writing Best Friends. I took kind of the similar approach of, again, I was writing the same two characters.
Right.
You know, you're basically writing Tommy and Greg, but just shifted,
kind of different,
you know, in a different situation. But I knew the kind of story that I wanted to evolve into. Mm-hmm. And so it's a lot easier when you know the characters you're writing for and their strengths,
right,
and their weaknesses as well. So The Disaster Artist just taught me a lot. You know, I got to work with a really great co-author, Tom Bissell.
Right, yeah, he's awesome.
Who, you know, you realize a lot of stuff you write that you don't need, and you ask the right questions, and that's what I tried to do. I tried to learn from my experience with the Disaster Artist and take that and try to make a film.
Right, and that's the movie, or just in general, is so inspirational. Like I got goosebumps at the end of it. So I think the fact that, you know, you concentrated on that friendship rather than simply the movie stuff, like in the book, and then ultimately what James Franco did with the movie, like it's, you know, this is very inspirational to tell too. So talk about now, I guess, after you got the Best Friends script completed, like what was your step after that? Did you start like sending it out to studios, or did you just like maybe hit your friends up and get people you know and respected already and on the production?
Yeah, I've had a group of friends that also help with The Disaster Artist that I would just send chapters to,
Mm-hmm.
and you just got to feel like what the response is. You know, a lot of times your friends are going to be supportive, but you can tell if there's a lot of enthusiasm there. You know, and I'm lucky that I've had people come back to me like, hey, I like this, but maybe this could be clearer. You're coming off this way. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did with the script, kind of every step of the way. Once I got kind of halfway through, I would send it to friends, and they, you know, give advice. And I was working with the director that I was planning to work with. Mm-hmm. You know, we worked together on it and just kind of crafted it and got their feedback, and just kind of kept evolving it to seeing what could work. A lot of times you have these, again, big ideas that are going to be really unrealistic to shoot.
Right.
So that's the other thing, is kind of scaling down what you're trying to tell and doing it in a way that's, you know, not, you don't need special effects or trains or all these ridiculous locations.
Yeah, people aim too high. You like a really bad CGI or something.
Well, yeah, you can tell a story just someone walking through the door. You don't have to, you know, take it too far. And so I learned that through this process. Mm-hmm. You know, working with what you have. A lot of times you think you need something that you really don't. Again, if you're working with an unlimited budget, then it doesn't matter. But it pushes you to figure out what story you're trying to tell. So yeah, I just kept revising it, trying to let it breathe and hone in on the story I was trying to tell with a good team of people helping.
How did you find your director and your cast and everything? Did you put that together and sell it to a studio? This is one part of like filmmaking that I'm not as familiar with, like the business end of things, I guess.
No, I had a friend who I'd worked with, you know, and I really, you know, we spoke the same language with film, and so it was very clear what we wanted to do. So we just basically put the team together and went out and made it.
That's great.
You know, I'm lucky that I've, you know, been able to meet a lot of great people and that were able to help with the film. So we just kind of dove right into it. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times when you're enthusiastic and really want to make something, you need to strike when you have that feeling, because other things get involved, life happens, and you just kind of never end up making something.
Right.
So we just went for it. We had a window of time. You know, we finished The Disaster Artist. That was going to come out in a certain period of time. We just spent the entire year making these films.
Yeah, that's great. And that's talking about the stuff you're saying, that kind of reminded me of the movie we shot here at the library, Volumes of Blood. We would actually come in about 30 minutes before the library closed on weekends, and we would have like a set amount of time. We had to be out of the building like, I think 2 a.m. So just marathon filmmaking like the whole night, and nobody was really getting paid. It was all just a labor of love, and that comes through in the final movie for sure, and I'm sure it will in Best Friends as well. So I know the premiere's coming up. Normally when I do these filmmaker interviews, I always talk about the premieres. Can you tell me, I guess first about the shooting? Any good stories? I would imagine. I followed the Instagram account, so I've kept up with a little bit. So some amazing stuff on there. I highly suggest you all go follow that. Any sort of fun stories from the shoot? Anything you learned that you plan on applying in future projects, and just kind of general shoot talk, and then the premiere.
Yeah. Again, just working with Tommy every day is an adventure. There was one scene in particular, I don't want to spoil anything, but watching him get choked by a clown was something I'll never forget. It was the most amazing moment I've had on a set
That sounds
ever.
awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do when you just commit with a group of people that want to make something.
Yeah.
That it can happen. And I think pre-production is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what you want to do, figuring all that stuff out, putting in that work, the 3 phases of really preparing for your shoot, daily crafting and chiseling your story and how you want to approach it, and being as prepared as possible is something that I learned is very important. Making a film is kind of like going to war. You don't know what's going to come your way. You're going to deal with weather. You're going to deal with things that are out of your control. The more prepared you are, the better your product's going to be.
Sure.
And then I've also learned how important it is to get the word out about your project, to connect with people, to make to let them know why they should see your film.
Yeah.
But just with shooting, I think the most important thing is having a vision of the story you want to tell, the films that you love, and there's so many amazing scenes and shots that exist every day when you're filming. But if you don't do the preparation, you may miss those moments. So on set, there was just really some wacky moments. Tommy and I playing basketball while he was in platform heels. See, I mean, every scene in the movie is out there, so I think that'll
it looks like that's one that it's like I talked to you earlier about the noir, like film noir look. It's a very visually appealing film just based on the trailer alone. Like the colors are vivid. It looks excellent. I'm super stoked to see it for sure. But so the premiere, that's next week, you said?
Yeah, it's going to be at the Egyptian Theater.
Oh, wow.
Which should be a lot of fun. It's going to be 15 years, since we had a premiere for The Room, so It's a little different. We're going to be on Hollywood Boulevard this time.
Nice.
Which is where Tommy originally wanted The Room to be.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to enjoying it. I mean, one of the things you got to do, you put in the work, and you got to just go and enjoy it. And, the film now is what it is, and I think you can just kind of sit back and see people's response, and hopefully they dig it, and just hope for the best.
Yeah, well, thanks for chatting with us. Any plugs or anything you want to throw out there outside of the movie?
Best Friends is going to be out there in the theaters. It's going to be out on DVD and VOD hopefully in the next few months, and we made Volume 2.
Yeah, that's June, right?
Which is, if you think of the first one is like an LA noir film, the next one is kind of a desert thriller.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
we're covering everything.
Great.
But it's been the last year of making films, and I really hope you guys dig it.
Yeah, definitely will. I guess we'll end by talking about the future. You got anything lined up next, or you just concentrate on Best Friends right now?
So the next thing I want to do is make a horror film.
Oh wow, cool.
Something totally different. I think there's The Room, there's Disaster Artist. These films, working with Tommy again was something I hadn't done in a long time. Which was a great challenge, and I enjoyed it a lot. And the next thing I'd like to do is just make something completely away from the room, and having no ties to anything, just totally challenge myself in a different way.
You ever think about directing?
I know. You know what? After working on these films, I realized what a talent and how difficult it is to direct.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
I think I prefer kind of creating the story and working with the director. I was very lucky to work with him.
It seems like directing would be a big headache for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of people to please.
I was lucky to work with a great director, Justin McGregor, who directed these films.
And you said he was like a Room fan from way back, right?
Yeah, we saw The Room when he was like 16, and so. But again, he loves film.
Yeah.
appreciates the room, but we both agreed, you got to go out and make something
Sure.
ambitious. You can't just kind of sit back and try to do the whole
Exactly.
so that it's good. So yeah, I just learned how big of a job directing is. So I can see shots, I can imagine what they could be, but actually doing them is probably something that's going to take me a while to want to jump into that. So for now, storytelling is what I love to do.
That's cool. I'll definitely look forward to seeing that. What about a book? You think everything about writing another book?
Yeah, I mean, what I've tried to do now is just kind of jump right into telling a story and then having it filmed,
Sure.
So that's what I'd like to continue to do, hopefully.
Cool. Well, we'll look forward to seeing all the future stuff from you, man. Thanks
Definitely.
so much
Thanks
for
so much for
talking to
having
us.
me back. Absolutely.
Yeah.